First time I told this story was called Four Claps, and it was took place in Kenya, where I was a Peace Corps volunteer some years ago. It was this spontaneous moment where I broke tradition of my school, where a man introduced gets 4 claps and a woman introduced gets 3 claps. And spontaneously, when I was introducing the head girl, I demanded 4 claps, and she got 4 claps, and it was this moment of you know, it felt good, and it's a drop in the bucket, right? What does that mean? It's kind of like the Facebook post of Peace Corps. That's not what it was all about. So this time I'm here to talk about a fail. Same place, Peace Corps Kenya. Peace Corps is 2 years and 3 months, and I didn't last that long. I lasted, but not that long. It was kind of like training for the marathon and walking off the course at 20 miles. I early COS'd, which is close of service, and here's why. Didn't finish the race. So in my 20s, I pushed my shy, scared self into the world, and I went to China my first year out of college, and I taught at university, and I learned some Chinese, and I traveled all over the place by boat and by bus and hard train, hard seat, 18 hours, 26 hours on a hard seat, smothered by humanity, crushed in by everyone. I remember one time I was going to Beijing and I didn't pee for 18 hours because if I moved off my spot, I would never have gotten it back. It was just a crush of humanity. So, also in Peace Corps, you know, I was kind of an anomaly. It was in 1991, and a lot of foreigners really hadn't been there yet, and so I'd go running in the morning, and a crowd of kids and even adults sometimes would follow and scream, Wigering, which means outside person, and sometimes they'd chase along, and sometimes they'd laugh at me, and it was overwhelming in certain ways, but it was full of wonderful people and unique experiences, and I came home feeling empowered, and I felt strong. And so I took that energy and I applied to grad school at Northwestern and became a high school teacher, and met a guy named Cute Scott McBride. Well, Cute was my name, but Scott McBride, and talked for a few years, and then we got back in touch, and then we started to talk about getting married, and then we realized we shared a dream, which was to join Peace Corps. And so we took a leave of absence at our respective schools, and we got married in March. Well, here's how it went. We applied for Peace Corps, and I borrowed my mom's ring thinking that they cared anything about that. Applied for Peace Corps, got engaged, married in March, left in September. So we arrived in Kenya for 3 months of training at the Naivasha site. We lived with the family. We learned about Kenyan culture and language and survival skills, and medical. Peace Corps medical basically boils down to don't eat shit. And then you'll stay home. So, there was that. We learned some other things about how to survive, and some of those had to do with personal safety. And one of the things they told us early on is if you're pickpocketed or someone approaches you and they steal your hat or your backpack or your purse, beware. Don't call thief. Mwizi. Don't say wheezy, because if you do, you better think about how valuable that item is, because a crowd may form and gather and attack. You know, it's a place of corruption and not a whole lot of social justice. And so this was a thing that we were informed about. Stay away from crowds, don't be involved. If you see a crowd form, go the other way. So I found Kenya difficult, and I found it kind of grueling, and I found it very, very challenging. Another thing that we were told, don't be out after dark. And so dark is 6 p.m. and sunlight comes up at 6 a.m. and there's no time change there, so it's pretty consistent. So it was emotionally exhausting in a lot of ways that I didn't expect. Moving through Nairobi, experiencing and witnessing the poverty, the bands of glue-sniffing, glassy-eyed children, boys, kids left without parents because of the AIDS epidemic, grabbing your arms, madam, just please, the look in their eyes. Some of these things felt really challenging and hard to see. The belief that AIDS could be cured by having sex with a virgin the stories of headmasters having their way with female students. Stuff like that. Emotionally exhausting. Physically challenging as well. Our site was remote. It took a long time to walking and walking. The first time, actually, this is a funny Peace Corps story. After 3 months of training, they give you your site. San Gallo Secondary School. That's all it says. You need to go find it. You need to talk to some people, figure out where it is. How do you get there? Transportation isn't so easy. Food access. Our market was 2 hours away by bike and only every 2 weeks. We'd trudge into Eldoret and pack up supplies in our backpacks and find our way back. There weren't buses and schedules, and certainly this is way before cell phones and texting and easy ways to communicate. There were few paved roads. So how did you get around? Well, oftentimes you could, if you're going from one major town to another major town, you might go to the vehicle stage where the touts would aggressively grab you. Madam, come to my car, come to my car. And then you'd go to the car and you'd wait until the car filled. Could be an hour, could be 2 hours, could be 3 hours, you never knew. But when the car filled, you'd go on your way. Road safety was a concern. I remember our Peace Corps recruiter took us out for drinks before we left, and unfortunately he had just had to greet parents who lost their volunteer to a road accident at the airport, and after a few drinks, he was sobbing to us, "Just please don't die." And we're like, what are we doing? But in any case, there was other ways to get a ride, and that was to hitch. And hitching wasn't hitching, it was like a lifty. It was kind of fun to stand there and get a lifty on the road, right? But you know, you could get a good lifty or you could get a bad lifty. So, you know, one time we got many times we got bad lifties, like packed into the back of a pickup truck. And I remember one time there was so many people and their animals, and we were just smashed in there. And I think it was a goat, I'm not sure, but you know, I could only see the end of the goat, the ass of the goat, not the front, but the A's started to move, and then suddenly pellets were shooting out. What? Oh my God! Or you could get a good lifty, like the time that we were going to Eldoret to pack up for our supplies for the month of food, and the van stops, and we're like, sweet, and we jumped in, and sometimes you get, you know, the rich class with a Mercedes, a very small rich class of Kenyans with a Mercedes-Benz, the Wabenzi class, we call it. But this time it was a film crew, and we get in and we're talking, and the film producer is so fun and interesting, and I'm like, well, who's the dude sleeping in the back? Well, it was Bryant Gumbel, and he was there for filming marathon runners for Real Sports, and so that was a fun lifty. But usually it wasn't like that. You just kind of took a ride when you could to get where you needed to go. Another thing they told us about in training for personal safety was mobs and crowds and mob justice. So unfortunately, and this is where the story really starts, is I saw mob justice 3 times. One time was up close. It was in Nairobi. We were at the Parkside Hotel where the volunteers would stay, and we heard a ruckus, and it was in the morning, and I looked out the window, and there was a boy, maybe 10 or 12, and he was running down the street, and all these people were running at him, and then they were getting him, they were shaking him, and then I saw a uniformed person, maybe a police, maybe not, I don't know, he looked official, and I thought, oh, thank God someone's there, and he lifted his club, and he said, bash him in the head. And there was really nothing we could do, although we tried at the desk, and they said, Madam, it's taken care of. Madam, it's taken care of. The other time, second time we saw mob justice was crossing Uhuru Park, which is a big expansive space in Nairobi, sort of like a park with just nothing really in it, grassy, but suddenly we saw people running from all directions, almost like army ants attacking And we never found out what it was, who it was, where it was, but we saw the mass of humanity going that way. The third time, the mob was after me. Well, why and how? How could that happen? So it's the reason for the close of service, and it's why I abandoned the course and I left early. So it was a morning in February, and I was traveling with 2 other women. We were going to a safety and security meeting back at the Naivasha Training Center. Ironic. And we left from E10 and we walked. We decided to forego the stage and the touts and the waiting, and we were just going to lift and get a lifty on the road. And so we left and we walked, and opting to skip the stage and the struggles. Naivasha is along the road from Western Eldoret to Nairobi. We knew the road well. It was one of the only paved roads in the area. And we'd been on that route before, so we really didn't have worries about it. It was a straight shot across the country, about 4 or 5 hours, depending on the ride. So we walked out, and we continued to walk. Didn't see a whole lot of vehicles, no good lifty that time, not many passing. Sun started getting hot, and perhaps maybe in retrospect we left too late in the morning. Maybe we should have been out there a little bit earlier. Sometimes the best rides were early. No Safi Wabenzi, no Brian Gumble, no pellet shitting goats either, which was nice. But we walked, and then we considered turning back, going back to the stage, but then we thought, let's continue, let's push on. Finally, a pickup truck comes by. Driver says, yeah, he's going that way. The road is straight shot. And we're like, sure, we'll take a ride as long as you can take us. So we rode in the wind, in the grit, in the grind. And after a while, he stops and tells us he's turning off. That's the end of our ride. And so we get off, and we walk. Now it's like getting closer to afternoon. A little pit in my stomach starting to form. We're not really on our way yet. And it's noon, past noon. Sunsets at 6. Being out after dark, especially 3 girls, not so good. It's kind of analogous to wearing a miniskirt. Maybe you deserve it. Maybe not. So, more vehicles pass. No one's picking us up. We continue to walk. Finally, a Nissan van pulls over, typical of what you might see in a stage. Big sort of, there's not real seats, there's just kind of like benches in there. Nissan van. There's three guys, 3 buanas. That just means dude, Kenya dudes. There's a driver, a tout, some other guy. He's not sure what his role is, but they're a little loud. They're kind of aggressive. They claim they're going to Nairobi. We're on their route. Okay, so we go. It's a lot of swagger, they're driving fast, they're a little reckless. It's disconcerting. Being on the road with people you don't trust doesn't feel so good. But it's a ride, so we continue on, and we don't have a lot of choices at this point. After some time, they turn off the main road, and immediately we're like, what? Where are you going? What's going on? We immediately inquire, where, why? Oh, we're going for petrol, we need some gas. So we're off the tarmac, we're off the paved road, we're off the established route, we don't know where we are. It's rugged, it's winding, they're driving unsafely, it's unfamiliar, they're stopping, they're picking up other passengers, they're getting in fights. In retrospect, I wonder if they had like crossed some kind of turf line and they were not supposed to be vehicle providers in that area. I don't really know. But maybe they were drunk, maybe they were high, maybe they were glue snippers too, I don't know. But we were getting anxious, and soon one of us starts crying, and pretty soon everyone's kind of having their momentary breakdowns about things. And it's late, and we don't know where we are. Lots of questions, no answers. So the more we freak out, the less control we have, even though we have no control at all. Anxiety becomes rage, and we show our displeasure. They don't care. People are laughing. What is your problem? We're no threat to them. We've just picked badass buanas to ride with. So we wait and we ride, and the sun starts to set. After what seems like an eternity, We're finally back on the paved road, and we recognize Nakuru, and we roll into the Nakuru stage, legendary for its roughness and squalor. It's dark. It's a hellhole. We are in the wrong place. So we're beyond stressed, and the tout says, oh, we're continuing to Naivasha. We'll be going there, don't worry. There's no trust, we don't know what to do. Suddenly, I snap. I decide we have to do something. We have to get out. So I run, I tell my girls, wait, I'll be back. I find a taxi driver. It's a private car. I say, we must get to Naivasha. It's after dark. We have to go. He says, 3,000 shilingi. I'm a volunteer. I don't have money. I may be Western, I may be white. I don't have money. This is not what's, I can't take. We have 600 shilingi between the three of us. I beg. He thinks it's a barter situation. I come back to the bus. I find chaos. One of us is screaming at the touts. Anger has boiled over. We've got to get out. I tell them, my girls, I'm about 30, they're about 22. I feel responsible. I say, now, let's go. Get your shit, we're out. And we run. We haven't paid for the ride. We're the thieves. People are gathering. People are curious, people are running, everyone's chasing us, we're locking arms, we're running for the caddy, and all I see is his eyes and their terror in his eyes, and I can't even look back. And he's opening the doors of his car, and we're beating back arms, and people are at the car on us. We make our way in, he drives away. Hands hammering on the doors as we leave the stage, and I realize he saved our lives. We ride, we cry, we, for some reason, break out into hysterical laughter. We make it to Naivasha, and then we behave like victims. We blame ourselves. We have a pact of secrecy. We're not going to tell what happened. We're at the safety and security meeting. It eventually comes out, our odd behavior becomes obvious. We don't have words for our trauma. I don't have words sometimes even now. It's taken a long time for me to even tell this story. I'm not even sure Scott's even heard the full story. I don't know that I even have it. So we do a week of therapy in Nairobi. It's not enough. I can't get back into a vehicle. I don't know what to do. Scott's been summoned, he comes in. He has nothing to do but hold me when I wake up in the night screaming for no reason. I have violent dreams. I'm off. It's PTSD, I don't know what that is, but now it's me. After a week, by protocol, they send you back to DC, and I decide I'll go, and Scott, you'll stay in Kenya, so I have a reason to come back, because I intend to come back. But after a month, it's not enough. I can't go back. And so for a long time, it haunts me. I've changed the course of the trajectory of our plans. I'm the reason we haven't stayed. It feels like quitting. It feels like failure. Worse things can happen, but trauma lives inside your body, and sometimes it comes out in unexpected times, and I feel that over time, and I see that over time. And when you have that skeleton of guilt in your closet, I think that all you can do is find some words around it, go in, grab those bones, shake them, break them, make them dust. Thanks for being part of my process.